Hi, I'm Jackie McLaughlin, the Director of the Pre-Health Programs at Penn. This information session is designed to give you some insight into the life of our pre-health post-baccalaureate students. You will get an overview of our curriculum and even an opportunity to ask questions of a student representative during our live Q&A session. Many prospective students wonder what we're looking for in a pre-health student. There are some common characteristics we see across our core and specialized students at Penn. All are intellectually curious, goal-oriented, and willing to work hard. We also look for students with a service orientation, leadership potential, and compassion for others. If this describes you, we invite you to stay tuned and take a closer look. Well, our program is unique in that we have flexibility for students to do this program in a variety of ways. The majority of our courses are offered in the evening. Students may do that on a full-time basis or a part-time basis, but any student that's accepted into our program is eligible to take classes, a comparable class during the day. The majority of the courses that will meet requirements for the core certificate or the specialized certificate are science courses. Those courses may be chemistry, biology, physics, and we have a wide variety of neuroscience courses that meet those requirements as well. But students may stay and take additional courses if they like. So we have a wide range of undergraduate science courses. We can also weave in math requirements or social science requirements for students who need those as well. So for the specialized studies student who is taking HCUs, they can do that within 1 year, within 2 semesters, a fall term and a spring term, taking 4 courses each semester. If they choose to go part-time, they can spread that out over 2 years, over 5 sequential semesters, taking 2 courses a semester if they happen to be working full-time or part-time. It really will take about 2 years for a core student to complete the program. Core students have the option of starting in the summer or they might start in the fall term. If they are going full-time, they might complete the majority of the requirements in 1 full year, yet there still will be additional requirements they might need if they're applying to medical school. For example, biochemistry being the one that really stands out. So in that situation, it really makes sense, and what we're advocating now for most of our core students is that they're really looking at a 2-year time frame. Starting in the fall makes a lot of sense. The pace is very nice, and a core student is able to weave in the experiences that they need to have in research or in clinical exposure, which really makes them a much stronger candidate when it comes to application. I think our admissions process is very detailed and very careful. And one of the things that we're looking for is offering admissions to students that we think are going to be successful in this program. But part of that success is also engaging with the faculty and engaging with the advising team early on and continuing to come in and meet with advisors so that we can all work together as a team to make sure that students are reaching their goals and staying on track. And an advisor plays many different roles. An advisor can help with career counseling, with academic advising, helping with selection of courses, but can also be a confidant and a counselor as well when a student needs some additional help outside of the school environment. For the student who might have done some basic general chemistry or maybe some intro bio, but needs to do additional core prerequisite courses, we're the perfect place for them because they can come in and fill in those core requirements that they need, and then take additional advanced science courses as well. So they're a very good fit. We do consultation with students initially to find out where they fit. Should they consider themselves a core student or should they consider themselves a specialized student? So if someone is unsure at the time of application, just submit your application and we will work with you to sort that out. What we look for in the core applicant is someone who has a great academic track record, who has the motivation, and is willing to work hard. You have to have an understanding of yourself and why you want to go in this direction. But that's exactly what a core program is for the person who studied, another subject area and now decides that they are ready at this point in their life to move in another direction and study, a different content matter. So we are perfectly designed for that. The specialized studies are really an interesting group. They are here for a variety of reasons. Some of them are trying to improve their academic record for a variety of reasons. They may not have achieved the academic goals that they wanted to during their undergraduate career. And others just want to strengthen what they already have. They may have a wonderful academic record and they just need a little bit more time, a few more advanced courses, maybe some more experience to make themselves a stronger candidate. We'll see students who come into the program thinking they might want to go into medicine and decide throughout their growth and learning and experience that maybe it's not the best choice for them. So we have a fair number of students who might choose to do physician assistant program. We've had a few who have decided during a discernment process while they're here that they're interested in physical therapy. I've had students decide they're interested in public health, and I've also had students who are interested in nutrition careers. So we will work with the students for whatever health profession, if you're here, whatever health profession you might really draw your attention or your interest and help you to get there. Well, Penn really has the most flexibility. We are a large program. We have a variety of students in the student body, so there's diversity in the student body. We have people with no science experience and people who are very experienced in science, all working together. We also have an opportunity to leverage a lot of research training and clinical training opportunities for students, and we continue to put more of those in place each year. So it's something, the Penn experience is something that you're not going to be able to get elsewhere.
The new MCAT 2015 was administered for the first time last spring. I encourage you to visit the AAMC website for information updates. This new exam is designed with questions intended to cross scientific disciplines and encourage students to solve problems like scientists. The test is divided into the following 4 sections: biological and biochemical foundations of living systems, chemical and physical foundations of biological systems, psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior, and critical analysis and reasoning skills. Potential applicants ask if they should take the MCAT before applying to our program. No, we do not expect applicants to take the MCAT prior to enrolling, but we encourage students to take the MCAT when they're best prepared to do so. However, we will require a standardized test result as part of your application, and this can be the SAT, the ACT, or the GRE. Again, if you have MCAT questions, I urge you to visit the AAMC website for announcements and updates.
Please stay tuned for our live Q&A session starting now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the virtual information session for the pre-health program at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm glad that you were able to join us this evening. I hope that you'll take an opportunity to get your questions answered. I'm very fortunate to be joined by 2 of our students, our current students here this evening, who are going to help to address and answer questions about what this program is like from the student perspective. My name is Jackie McLaughlin. I'm the director of the pre-health programs at Penn. And to my right, I am joined by Julie Hoga? Yes. Okay. And David Ting. Julie is a core student in the program. She's also an international student, so if there are international students or people wondering about that, she can probably give you a little bit of information about her perspective. And David is a specialized student, and David has been doing the program on a part-time basis, is that right? So, and you've been full-time, so hopefully you'll get a variety of differences about their experiences. But Julie, I'm going to toss it to you so that you can talk a little bit about sort of your background and how you came to wanting to do a post-bac program and how you ended up at Penn.
Yeah, so as Jackie explained, I'm an international student. I'm from Norway and grew up around Scandinavia. I got my bachelor's in finance at New York University in Shanghai. So I have a very non-traditional background. And right around the time that I graduated, I realized that finance wasn't exactly what I hoped my future would be. And so I decided to look into post-bac programs and spent a year working and then applied to Penn, shadowing a little bit in between there. And now I'm a core studies student. Because I'm international, I'm full-time. And I love being here in Philadelphia because in terms of being an international student and needing volunteering opportunities, this is the best possible place I could be in the midst of some of the best hospitals in the United States and in the world.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Great. We're
Very
glad
happy.
you're here. And David, how about you?
I grew up in Springfield, Missouri, and for undergrad I went to Princeton. I was a history major, concentrated in history of science. I did nearly all of the pre-med courses in undergrad with the exception of biochemistry and stats, both of which I completed here in the program. And although I always knew I wanted to be pre-med, I really felt like I needed to buff out my science strengths because that was something I was not confident in before I came to this program. And I'm very happy to announce that the teaching here is really, really great. And the amount of time that advisors are able to spend with you, it's unimaginable how much work and empathy they're able to put your way. And I also second Julie on the fact that there are lots of job volunteering opportunities around here. This is a hotspot. There are innumerable opportunities.
I agree with that. So thank you very much. So I'm going to turn to questions from people at the audience. People have been sending in answers to Faye, and she's putting them up on the board for us. So Alexandria, who is at Cornell, has a question about applying. So I take it that it may be in your junior year and thinking about would you need a post-bac, and there are a lot of reasons why students might be interested in a post-bac program while you're still in your undergraduate years. But basically you really should be thinking about submitting your application to Alexandria when you're in your senior year. So that would be better because we really can't offer you admission or anything like that until you really complete your undergraduate studies. Okay, so, but I'm happy to talk with you. You can certainly, email me, send an email to any of our recruiting staff if you want to know more about the program. We're certainly happy to talk to you about that and help you make a decision about what's the right place for you to be. Natalie has asked a question about a spring start and whether or not that's possible for core students. Students enter our program at 3 points. So there's a summer entry, and we have core students and specialized students starting in the summer. We also have students starting in the fall, so that would be core and specialized. And that's when we have the largest influx of students, is really in the fall. So students, even though we have a new student orientation in the summer, it's just, a smaller group, but we typically invite those students to come to the fall new student orientation as well. We do take in even a smaller group of students in the specialized program in January. But core students really are not a good fit for January. The reason for that is because most of the core courses are sequential. So we have the first part of chemistry in the fall, the first part of biology in the fall, the first part of physics in the fall, first part of organic chemistry in the fall. So depending on where you are, even if you've had a science or two, it's really usually not a good fit. However, there are some students who are kind of in between a core student and a specialized student in terms of their academic background. If you have a question about where you fit, whether you fit into the core program or the specialized program, we'll sort that out with you. So occasionally there might be a student who is a best fit for core program. We might be able to allow them to start in January. So it really only depends on, you know, your academic background, what courses you've completed. So we're happy to talk to you about that too, Natalie. Joyce wants to know about the timeline for a core student with no science background. And then also has a question about wanting to link to Penn Dental. Okay, great. Well, let me talk a little bit about the timeline for a core student. Julie, do you want to talk about that a little bit since...
Yeah. So I'm hoping to link to Penn Medicine. But in terms of a timeline for core students, as a full-time student, it's ideal, I think, to finish the program in about a year and a half, 2 years. So I started in the summer and did biology 1 and 2. And then starting in the fall, I did chemistry 1, physics 1. Now I'm doing part 2 of both of those, and then I'll take this summer and the fall and possibly next spring as well to finish up my last 3 classes. And then I sit for the MCAT around the spring, and linkage happens during the fall and the spring as well, and then I matriculate in August 2020, hopefully.
Right. Now we do have basically 2 different timelines for the core.
Yep.
So most core students do the core curriculum within about a year and a half to 2 years. Most of them do 13 CUs. The certificate is 12 CUs. Most students do 13 CUs with biochemistry in there. But if you distribute it across 2 years, it gives you the opportunity to take some additional upper level biology courses like cell biology or physiology or genetics or microbiology. Would you say those are important courses for a core student to have, David? I think they're.
Yeah.
And they're very fundamental. So giving yourself, you know, that time to distribute those courses doesn't hinder you from doing any kind of a linkage program, and it's particularly if you're interested in dental school, you actually do need to do some additional courses, particularly microbiology. We also have online available a head and neck anatomy course now that is a really good preparatory course for students who are interested in dental program. So the ideal timeline might be a year, it might be 2 years, a year and a half, somewhere in there, depending on what your background is. And so I guess the message for that is that it's kind of individualized to what your experience is, what your needs are, what kind of professional school you're interested in going into. So have that conversation with us. You know, I really encourage you to reach out to us so that we can understand what your needs are and what it is that you're looking for, and give you the best advice.
If I could chip in a little
Sure.
bit on this. Something that really drew me to the program was the course offerings. I have an interest in neuroscience, and seeing the availability of the courses and the diversity, UPenn has some courses that other places will not have. So if you have not looked at the course catalog, please do yourself a favor and check it out.
Thank you. Lewis wants to know about the ideal time to take the MCAT. And typically it's obviously, hopefully before you apply to medical school. Some students actually will submit an application before they take that MCAT. Or before they have the results. So usually it is before you apply. So let's assume, Lewis, that you're making an application to medical school in June. And so you want to have your MCAT score, maybe your MCAT taken maybe January or in April or May of that same year. But people, again, have different timelines, and depending on how many courses you're taking, how quickly you're going through the program, Some students might actually do their preparation for the MCAT, in the fall, and then they're taking it in January. It gives them a window of time when they can actually repeat if they need to. So again, it's very important to have those conversations. If you're applying to the program, have those conversations with the person who interviews you for the program, and then frequent conversations with your advising team about when is a good time for you to be taking the MCAT. Christopher took the MCAT in 2014. It's no longer valid. Does this make you ineligible for the program? Absolutely not, Christopher. If you've taken the MCAT, we want to see that. We want to see how you did in that standardized test. That doesn't predict how you're going to do on the new exam, but we do not require students to take the MCAT for entry into this program. We do require a standardized test, and that is typically having the SAT or the ACT. For some students who might not have SAT or ACT, we look to the GRE. We do not expect you to take the MCAT as part of the admissions requirements for this program. I'm missing part of that question. Will I need to do core or specialized? Well, core or specialized about science courses with foreign credentials. Got it. Okay. So, again, that kind of really depends on a case-by-case basis. Typically for students who've done foreign coursework in their sciences, oftentimes they do need to repeat that coursework at an American university if they're hoping to apply to an American medical school. We're happy to talk to you about that. And whether or not, the core or the specialized program is the best fit for you. Can specialized students start in summer full-time? Yes, you can. Who's taken summer courses? Have you?
I have.
Yeah? Is it hard to take summer courses?
No, it's actually really nice.
Ah, that's nice. Usually summer courses are condensed. So you have to be really careful about how many courses you're taking, what your course load is, what those courses are. A summer course is taking a 14-week course and condensing it into typically 5.5 weeks. And so you really have to think about time management with that as well. But yes, you can start in the summer full-time. Typically, students in the summer might, take 2 courses or maybe 3 courses, usually not 4 though. Okay. So let me see. Where are your classes taken? At an extension school or in the School of Medicine with medical students? That's a really good question. And I will let both of our students here talk to you a little bit about their experiences in the classes. Our classes that we offer all have to be approved as equivalent classes to classes that are taught in the School of Arts and Sciences at University of Pennsylvania. Our classes are in the evening, but they are housed in the same building, the chemistry building, biology building, where our regular daytime classes are held. Your classes are with your peers in this program, so they are not with medical students. They are not held at the School of Medicine. And the size of the class varies. Most classes are about 20, 25 students. Some can be 40, 45 students. And we have an occasional class that is very large, like our immunobiology course usually enrolls a lot of students. It can be up to 80 students. But that is one of the classes that always gets an excellent evaluation for teaching and for the course, and they have a lot of TAs there. So usually students don't complain. They usually rave about that course. So what's your experience been with courses and size of courses and peers in your classes? What's it like?
Well, so the nice thing about the courses here is that you take them only with other post-bac students, and it's a very different environment than I felt it was in undergrad because everyone is there for the same purpose. There's a lot of collaboration between students. The professors are there specifically teaching a course to students that are aiming to go on to health-related careers, whether it's medical, dental, veterinary. So they take more time to relate the courses and the coursework to what we're thinking of studying in the future, what our goals are. And they also take a lot of time, I think, to chat with their students and give us individual advising time, office hours. It's a very collaborative environment, and we have really great professors. We do.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, the specialized program courses that I've taken, some of them that come to mind, histology is one. And although the histology course taught in this program is not at the School of Medicine, this is virtually, I can attest, about as difficult as you would be receiving in a medical school environment. I would say that there are also opportunities outside of taking only with other core specialized students. If there's really an undergraduate class that you, for some reason, want to add to your belt, that's always something that Jacqui can check the syllabus of and get approved, and you are free to take that class. But yeah, as Julie said, most of the people that you'll be collaborating with are other post-bac students. And yeah, going back to professors' reviews of classes, I was extremely impressed with the amount of extracurricular help that biochemistry was able to offer. It's all within biochemistry. I shouldn't say extracurricular, but we had office hours. We had office hours 4 times a week. The TAs were always within reach, and really without that much help, I don't think I could have ever actually loved biochem, because biochem was actually the class that I was most afraid of coming into my undergrad freshman year, and knowing what courses lay ahead. That was the one I was just frightened to death about. But yeah, it says a lot that it was actually a subject that I was able to love with that perfect environment. I have very many good things to say about that class.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. We have an excellent teacher for biochemistry, and it also is such an important, 25% of that MCAT is biochemistry, but it's such an important subject in pulling together your sciences and really getting a sense of, how the body works and understanding disease states as well. So I'm glad that you love it. That's good. There's another student who wants to know about strengthening the GPA. Is this a program for you if you want to strengthen your GPA? Yes, that's what the specialized program is for. The specialized program is technically known as an academic enhancer program. And so there are students who come in with, not as strong a GPA, maybe a 3.1, a 3.2 GPA, and they really need some additional undergraduate advanced sciences to raise that GPA to a more competitive level. We also have students who come into the specialized program with a great GPA. They might have a 3.6, a 3.7 GPA, but they're not ready yet. They really want some more experiences. They want some more education. They are just not ready for that application. So, people come here for a lot of different reasons. So even though it is, yes, helpful to raise your GPA, it also is a time and a place to grow while you're really continuing to discern about what is the right pathway for you. Is it really medicine? Some people are torn. Is it dentistry or medicine? And they're really trying to decide where they should be applying. So again, I encourage you to reach out to the recruiting staff and the enrollment team and see, if you can get some more specific questions answered about whether or not it's a good fit for you. Maybe I didn't answer how large the classes are. So I'm going to bounce that to both of you. The size of your classes for the most part in the core?
It varies quite a bit, but I think on average maybe between 30 and 50 students.
Oh, wow.
So some of at least for me, because I'm in the core program, so Chemistry 101, we had, I think, close to 50 students, but it doesn't feel that large, which it's strange to say, but you have such close contact with a professor that it doesn't actually seem like a big classroom environment. And I come from a school, both high school and college, where our classrooms were closer to 10, 20 people, and it didn't feel that different for me.
Good. How about you?
Lecture courses are going to be really huge. I've taken 2 seminars now, and both of those, they cap out at about 15. It'll be 10 to 15 students. So that's like an even more intimate experience, but that's usually the benefit of being a specialized student. After you've gotten in those general requirements and maybe you've done your introductory neuroscience class, then you can move on into some of these advanced 4th year courses, which I really wanted to do. That was part of what attracted me to this program. And yeah, great environment.
Okay, thank you. So somebody's asking me to elaborate on what a core versus a specialized student means. Again, if you take a look at our website, you'll see that we offer 2 certificate programs. One is a core career changer program, and the other one is a specialized science program that's for academic enhancers. So the difference between the programs has to do with your academic background. If you have no science background, you need the core classes. If you do have some science background or a lot of science background and you need to improve your science GPA, then that's the academic enhancer or the specialized program is the program that you're going to seek, okay? And again, students fall in between, but it's really good to talk to somebody about where you fit if you think you might fall in between. Another student is asking what the advantages of a post-bac are over a master's program, and that's a really smart question to ask. When we see applications come in for the specialized program, and these are students who have a science background, they're the ones who would be considering a master's level program in sciences for biomedical sciences for medical school or any other professional school. Usually what we look at in that application is, do we have sufficient courses for this student to be able to come here and successfully complete this program and really thrive as a specialized student. The other thing that we look at in addition to do we have enough courses is how many courses might it take for this person to really move their GPA. So sometimes when a student has taken a vast number of undergraduate science courses, it's really hard to see that GPA move significantly if that's what they need to do. And sometimes we might go back to a student and recommend that they take a look at a master's program, a special master's program. We also have had students who have gone off and done special master's programs and then come back to the specialized program because they still are getting feedback from schools that they need to work on their undergraduate GPA. So it pretty much depends on your background, but that's really, there isn't a real clear-cut answer about whether or not which direction is better. It really, you need to take a look at the sciences that you've had and what you're hoping to achieve. For part-time specialized students, what's the minimum number of courses per semester? That would be about 2 courses a semester. You really don't want to come through this program and be doing it 1 course at a time. You want to be able to show that you can handle rigorous coursework and other things that you're balancing at the same time. So what are some of the things that you did, David, while you were doing part-time? What are some of the other activities besides courses that you were doing?
Academic Associates program, that's something that comes up a lot. That's a good way for you to get involved in some arm of some research being done somewhere. And it's always, the primary thing about that program is that you get hospital clearance, you interact directly with patients, and it's a really good way to build up clinical hours. As Julie mentioned, there are also lots of different jobs, places to volunteer. Penn Medicine is right next door, and it's a gigantic place. So there are lots of, even just like cold calling people. I've had friends do that go to some department that they like and then just shoot through every single possible option for, would you like to work with me? I'm interested in XYZ. So that's a possibility. Right now I'm currently working at Ralston House. It's a Center for Geriatrics and Neurology. I'm working there as a research assistant for a study, and I'm also helping a professor continue work for a particular book.
That's great. Someone wants to know when our classes are scheduled, and yes, our classes are predominantly in the evening. I would say late afternoon to evening. So they are held in the buildings where the normal day classes are, but because there aren't day classes scheduled there, we're able to hold them there in the evening. Students do sometimes take a day class. That David mentioned this, if there's a class that really fits with your background and your need, or if you have a time conflict between the classes that we offer and you can take a day section of that class, we certainly do allow you to do that, and that has to come through an approval process usually before you do it, and you want to make sure, is this class going to count towards my certificate requirements or committee letter requirements? So it's always good to ask. Julie, I'm going to ask you to answer the question about a typical schedule. So you're a core student, so what does a typical full-time core student schedule look like?
So all of my classes, or my my chemistry and my physics classes, are at night. So between 6 and 8, 4 and 8, and 5 and 9, depending on the day. And my mornings are volunteering or doing research or doing homework. So you get a full day. And I also take one daytime course since I'm an international student and have to be full-time enrolled. And that usually starts around 10 a.m. Once a week. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. And there's another question about the flexibility of the program. Is it flexible enough for students to take courses and work at the same time? And I think that's a really good question. We advise oftentimes for students, particularly if you're full-time, that you're not working. It just isn't possible. Although we have had students come through the program who've been full-time and actually have been working. So some students are able to do it and do it very successfully. Some students think, I'm going to be able to do this full-time job and I'm going to take 3 courses and in the evening, and it really doesn't work out very well sometimes. So I usually advise students to start off a little bit slowly, to sort of not bite off more than they can chew initially when they first come into the program, and let's assess and see what you're able to do in terms of achieving some really good work-life balance. And then if you can add on more courses, then add on more courses and do that successfully. You really don't want to jeopardize your academics while you're here by taking on too many extra things, even if you really do need to work. You have to do that very carefully, and do that in consultation with a member of the advising team. Is there financial aid? The program itself doesn't have financial aid, but the fact that the core program and the specialized program are both certificate programs enables you to apply for federal loans. So there is a financial aid through federal loans, but we don't have any scholarships available for students. I'd love for us to be able to do that at some point in time, but we don't have the capacity to do that at this time. Let's see, how often does the program see and accept non-traditional students? That's a great question. I have to say all of our students are non-traditional. Julie certainly is non-traditional, David's non-traditional. It really depends on how you define non-traditional. I think in this situation, someone's worried about age, so maybe a student over 35. Our average student age is around 26, but students do range in age from about 24 to, we had a student who was in their 40s, 42. So we do have older students in the program. And So I think if this is the direction, the life change, that you're looking for, and willing to, to return to school as a student, and you're over 35, I think it's well worth taking a hard look at how you're going to do that and whether or not this might be the right place for you. I think the fact that you are in with peers and not in with regular undergrads helps with that. Because there's definitely they are adult learners. There's definitely a difference in the student body, the feel of the student body, and the maturity level of the students. So you might find that you fit in very well with that. Julie and David, there's questions specifically for you about where you live. Is there any free time, and what do you do for fun? And so David, why don't you take that first?
Sure. There are lots of places around campus to live. Evo Philly is one place. I'm currently at 2400. And yeah, there are also lots of different houses that you can rent out. Although I never went through that process. I had a friend living in the same apartment building as me, so she referred me. As for what one does for fun,
Free time.
Yeah, first of all, there are lots and lots of places to eat. I would recommend that you, if you have not already, that you learn how to cook for yourself, because you probably will be living, alone or with roommates, and it's a good idea to at least be able to do a little bit more than a basic dish like macaroni and cheese if you're going to survive. That aside, there are lots of places in Philly to try out. West of UPenn's campus, as well as dotted all over Center City. It's nuts how many different places you can try out. Like Parkway Museum District, you want to go to Eastern State Penitentiary or the Barnes Museum or the Philadelphia Art Museum. There's also a flower expo that's coming up in early March. The Mutter Museum, which
That's
is
fun.
a pretty frightening place if you're not ready for it. But if you've got a medical interest in the curious, the terrifying, and the occasionally absurd, then that's a place to see remains, models. There's lots of wacky stuff there.
So there is free time.
There is free
There
time.
is life,
Yeah.
and actually the students, the Post-Bac Society, the student group, they do and plan a lot of student activities together as well, which, some people, find really fun in their free time.
We should
Do
talk
you
about
want to
the
address
clubs.
that too?
Yeah.
Definitely about Pinchon.
So I live in Center City, and finding housing in Philadelphia, I think, is relatively, it's an easy process. Philadelphia is very overbuilt right now, so there's a ton of places available to rent. There's a lot of services where you can help get matched up with roommates, even joining the Facebook page for the Post-Bac program. There's people who are subletting rooms because they're leaving for a year. There's a lot of opportunities to find a good living situation. In terms of free time, you really have as much free time as you make for yourself. Because all of the courses are at night, most of your daytime hours are free. Obviously, it's recommended that you fill that up with some volunteering hours or shadowing or something to add to your resume, and also get those clinical hours and get the exposure to really find out what you want to do and hone in your interests. But Philadelphia is a great place. There's a lot of, it's a really good city. It's a vibrant city. There's amazing food. I would argue that the food here is better than what you can find in New York. Unpopular opinion.
I agree with that.
You can spend quite a long time here hunting for the best cheesesteak. And yeah, there's a lot of great museums, and there's always a ton of events going on. And it's easy to get out of the city as well. It's a 2.5-hour bus ride to New York. You can go to DC, to Boston, up to Amish country. There's a lot to do. It's really what you make of it.
I'd say student interest groups also.
Right.
Yeah,
and
and
so
the
we
clubs.
also
Yeah.
have, not only
Oh,
is
yeah, I should-
Philadelphia a vibrant community, but we also have a vibrant student community. So we have about 7, 8, 9 pretty active student interest groups, and the student interest groups change over time as members of the student body change. So the most recent one that's come up was, an interest from a couple of students about spirituality and medicine. So I've just started talking with the university chaplain, and we're going to be putting together, some talks and panels and series on, some issues related to that. And in addition, looking at veterinary medicine and spirituality and dental medicine and spirituality, and trying to make it as cross-disciplinary as possible. But actually, both of these students here have been very active in some of the student groups, Pen Chime being one, and Julie is now taking up the lead on that, and David actually participated in a trip that we went to China last year, and that was part of Pen Chime, but David is also heading up the arts and medicine. David is a writer and very interested in the written word and as an art form, and is taking a lead on that. So is there anything else you want to add on that? I mean, there's so much to do.
There's a
in the
lot to
student
do.
body.
It's also a great way to meet other students. So being a core or a specialized student, you tend to, through your classes, get isolated to those students in particular who are on the same track as you. But there's a lot of events. A great one is also Penn Future Women in Health, who do a lot to bring in women in medicine, and not just women, but
No.
great people who come and talk to us about research studies, and a lot of innovators, I think, in the field.
And we just had CPR training. That's part of the
Yeah, I got
shadowing
certified.
program has done that, and we bring in people to do that. So
Yeah.
there's an yeah. You
Yeah.
do have free time. You have time to engage in that.
Yes.
You have time to interact with your peers and do things in the broader community as well.
Absolutely.
One of a member of our audience wants to know what the advising is like. So in this program, we have an advising team, and I have an open advising program, so that you can see one particular advisor, you can see everyone. I do recommend that students meet at least once with every member of the advising team, because we're involved in writing your letters to support your application to professional school. So it's really beneficial for you and for us to get to know, the students. But other than that, I'll let the students address what they want to say about the advising in the program.
I love the advising. It's really simple. We use AdviseStream. It's an app on your phone. So if you wanted an advising session, you just go in and you book a time. I think I've met with every advisor, and it's nice because you get to know them very well, and they get to know you, and it becomes more of a personal relationship rather than just going in to get your advice and leaving again. You grow very close, and they all also communicate about the students, and yeah, it's a well-encompassing team.
Thank you.
It is.
Yeah, between graduation and entering this program, it was a kind of a bumpy ride for me. I did not know that I was entering this program until very late, because this program has a generously late application date. But you should be careful. You should be careful to try to take too much advantage of that. Either you go in and you know that you're going to come into this program, or you're scrambling in June to put together your application. And I was in the latter party. So me, I was pretty burnt out after undergrad, and coming in, it took a lot for me to adjust. I was very mentally frazzled, but thankfully there was one of my professors, Dr. Lisa Whitmer, who was willing to spend a lot of time with me and not just make sure that I was down pat on my cell biology basics, but also she was just very willing to listen to me. And you'll find that about virtually every advisor. I met with every advisor at least once in that rough period, but very willing to listen to you, and very accommodating for all the different kinds of backgrounds. Because you may have somebody who is coming from an international background, somebody who is coming from a state school on the other side of the country, or somewhere on the East Coast. You know, it's so diverse, and also all of the different people that you'll meet. I mean, you'll meet all sorts of different people. Everybody has a different story going in.
Yeah,
So just
those students are
getting
great.
exposed to the types of people who want to become medical professionals and who are serious enough about it to submit an application to UPenn. It's a good crew, I think, to fall into.
Yeah.
Thanks. So somebody wants to know about how many students are in the specialized program. In general, we have between 275 to 300 students across both programs. And right now, it used to be, more of a 50-50 split with core students and specialized. Right now, that's shifted a little bit. We have probably a 60-40 split between specialized and core. I think that students are probably really amazed when they realize that the program is that large. I don't think it really has a feel of being that large. But that's because we have so much flexibility. I mean, students are here, they're part-time, they're full-time, they're in this program and that program. Some people are in between the two. So you really, just don't see it when you're just here taking classes as being quite that large a program. Someone wants to know about student success for going to PA school. Interesting. So I'll talk about success all around. Students do very well with PA school application. It's not as if we have a curriculum that really is just the right fit for PA, but oftentimes our students who come into the program are trying to decide between medical school or PA. And they, make a decision at some point that PA is the better fit. And then, of course, we support them in getting the appropriate prerequisites and coursework and experiences that they need for PA school. I would have to say that almost everyone who's applied to PA school from this program has been admitted. We have 5 students this cycle who have applied to PA school, and I do not have the results yet. Because there actually are some PA programs that start in January. So those results haven't been posted to the portal yet, so I'm not really sure what those results are. I anticipate they're very good. If we look at the last cycle, not this current cycle that isn't complete, but the last medical school cycle, 90% of our cores who were applying first time from our program were offered admission. 85% of the specialized students who were applying, first-time applicants applying from our program, that's with a committee letter support, were offered admission. We also offer support for an additional year. If a student is not offered admission and they want to reapply, we advise them, continue to advise them throughout that process, and we'll support their application process through another year. For students who apply a second time from our program with our committee letter support, those students, and it's maybe about 20 or so a year, about 65% of those students are successful with getting admitted into medical school. I happen to know that this year for the dental students, that's acceptance is 100% for those students who applied to medical school this cycle, to dental school. And our vets typically are close to 100%, or maybe, because there might be 4 or 5, pre-vets applying, so maybe it's just one who might not be successful that cycle, but then they would reapply. So I hope that gives you an idea of the success rate. So the students actually do very well from this program, and I think it speaks to the students that we have in the program. They're really hardworking, driven, dedicated students. Opportunities to volunteer or work with MD or DO physicians, yes. There are lots of opportunities for that. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
Opportunities to shadow or work or research?
There's a lot. There's so many. You have 3, 4 big hospitals right next door. You have Presby, Chop, Hupp, Jefferson, and even more if you expand further out. And these are big hospitals. There are endless opportunities to get involved. And there's even the shadowing program now in the program.
A fledgling shadowing program.
Yes. I have friends
We're
who
working
are
on growing it.
yeah, but I have friends who've participated in that program and who have gotten great shadowing opportunities because of it.
Right.
So there's no end to the opportunities you have.
We're getting close to the end of our time, but we still have a couple questions, and hopefully we'll get to everything. If we don't get to your question, by all means, reach out to us via email, okay? Because we're here for you. We want to make sure you get your questions answered. I'm going to ask both David and Julie about, someone wants to know about their biggest growth experience through the process of the program. So I'll start with you, David. What's been, as you're on this pathway towards medicine, what really has been the biggest growth experience for you?
I think realizing that I actually wanted to be a doctor. Because, many of you have probably gone through some rough patch in undergrad where you really doubted yourself and you really felt like that whatever school you were at, the conditions were inhospitable to your wanting to pursue your medical dreams. For me, one of the most important moments I had in the last year, and probably the happiest moment I had, was when we were together in China, actually, and we were in a surgery simulation room, and I had my hands on this endoscopy simulator. And that was probably the happiest It was a very, very invigorating moment for me.
I have a picture of it.
Yeah. It was probably the moment that I was like, wow, I know it now. This is what I want to do. That was amazing for me.
That's great. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's been through the shadowing opportunities, I think, where you really experience that growth or that assurance that you need that you're really on the right path, but also through your classes, when you realize that even the basics of science you enjoy because it's part of a bigger path, a bigger goal. But I think for me at least it was seeing a beating heart for the first time, just wide open chest, and seeing a heart just there was that
That's
was a
amazing.
near religious experience for me.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So one of our viewers wants to know if residency matters for the program cost, and no, it does not. So we have a tuition page on the website, and the tuition is very clearly there. We don't have a bundled tuition. You're paying by the course unit that you take. Any fees are associated there. It's all in a nice table. And the fee is the same whether you're in-state or out-of-state, so residency is not a factor. One thing that's important to know is that if you do end up taking a daytime classes are significantly more expensive than our classes. So the LPS rate for tuition is discounted over the regular tuition rate for courses. GPA requirement for the program, I'm going to say I don't have a hard and fast requirement because I do a very holistic admissions review. If your GPA is under a 3.0, there better be a good story about why and how it's going to change and whether or not we're going to be able to get you to be a competitive applicant for whatever your goal is. And but most students are above a 3.0, I would say, and particularly the core students, they usually have a much higher GPA coming into the program. Someone wants to know about Linkage. How does Linkage work? If you go to our website, we have our Linkage partners listed there, and Linkage basically works very similar to an early admission program, if you're familiar with that. So in the way normal application to professional school works is you're applying a year in advance. And the year in between your application and when you matriculate is called your glide year. But for a linkage, if you're accepted into one of the linkage programs, you actually matriculate in the same year in which you apply. So it eliminates the glide year. That's a great thing for some students. It's not ideal for other students. In fact, the majority of our students apply very broadly. So we really only have, a small fraction of our students, maybe 10% of our students applying through Linkage. Okay. Is our program open to pre-optometry? We haven't had any pre-optometry students. So I think that you would have to have a conversation to see if we have the appropriate coursework that you need to prepare you for optometry school. But we certainly would be open to having that conversation. And I just have to say, I think we're at the end of our time. And I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope that it's been informative. And as I said, you can always reach out to us via email. We're very happy to hear from you and answer any remaining questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.